What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Browns Film Room, and happy I don't care, fucking Victory Monday to you. I filled the quota of F-bombs in 30 seconds. I hope you guys are doing wonderful. Welcome in. We're going to talk about the blowout win. I'm Jacob. Next to me is Nick, Mr. Casey Kinnaman down below me, and Mr. Tyler Johnson in the other corner. Gentlemen, how is your Victory Monday going?
It's going great now. Finally get to talk the game though.
I was at work, so you're right. Now it's good.
Now it's time.
Nick?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I don't have much of a voice today. It's there were a lot of here we go Brownies chants yesterday, but the Cleveland Browns, Cleveland Elves, whoever, we won. It's a beautiful thing. We were there. I loved it. Browns fans were awesome. The Muni lot was getting full at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, I mean, it would have been full already because there was a line out there. They just couldn't get everybody in. It was crazy. It was awesome. We won. Life is great.
Mr. Johnson?
It's awesome, dude. I mean, it's hard to believe that we beat Cincinnati by as much as we did, but very satisfying, of course, when you can be the best team in your state. Now, you have the head-to-head battle. Now, the real challenge begins is having the better season. So, but it's a great first step for sure.
Cleveland is Cleveland. We are brought to you, as always, by our friends over at Homage Apparel. In the link down below, you will find a link to this beautiful Victory Monday shirt that you can get from our friends at Homage Apparel. You're going to need some more of them, so go and get as many as you can afford and give them to your friends. We appreciate all of you. We are 28, at least the last time that I checked, 28 followers away from our jersey giveaway at 2,000 subscribers here on YouTube. So we're so incredibly blessed that you guys are here with us on this ride. So if you're not subscribed already, subscribe, like this video, check it out, get us in front of the other people in the algorithms, and let's enjoy the Browns together. So we are going to talk about the blowout win. I love using that word. And it not be referring to what happened to the Browns and other things. But blowout win over the Bengals here, week 1. We were up at 4:15 to get into the Muni lot. We partied in the Muni lot. We went in there. We got just absolutely soaked. So I jumped on, and we jumped on while waiting to rock a piss during the live show, and people seemed to think that was pretty funny. So
I didn't actually know we were live.
He said it in the video. Do you hear him? He goes, "Are we live?" I'm like, "Yes, we're live. Look, it says live right here. Clearly, everybody's talking, and we're live." So, we're gonna go winners and losers. And Casey, we'll start with you. We'll go Casey, Tyler, Nick around the corner and go through there. But Casey, off the bat, man. We're going to talk, obviously, more in depth throughout the week and some other things like that, but we really want to highlight who the players and the situations that stood out the most to us. So, Casey, I'll give it to you for the first one.
I got to kick it off with Grant Delpit. I mean, that's the dude we've been waiting on, that guy right there. He was weaponized yesterday. 8 total tackles, 7 solos, 1 tackle for loss, quarterback hit, a pass defended. He was everywhere. He was exactly the guy that he needed to be. He was the linebacker. We need to be a linebacker. He looked good in coverage. That guy, that's the dude. You know what I mean? Like, the Browns need that on this defense. They need someone that the quarterback has to identify every time they come to the line. And yesterday, 22 was that guy.
Yeah, man. Like, that was by far the best game of Grant Delpit's career, I think. And it was just like it felt like almost every play he was the one making the play. And if he wasn't, he was right there. He was just flying all over the field, and he was a pain in the butt. He was a thorn in the side of Cincinnati. I think that was awesome. I think he was really good.
Yeah, I mean, Grant Delpit in this game, you can't say enough good things about the way he played. Fantastic tackling grade, and I know that's something he struggled with throughout his career, is making tackles. Didn't struggle making tackles yesterday. It's fantastic in coverage. I mean, that one-on-one that he had against, I believe it was T. Higgins, where has this Grant Delpit been? Did it take this long to get to this version of this player? I mean, we talked about the potential. Is he going to be extended by the Browns? You keep performing like you did on Sunday, you might have to find a way to pay Grant Delpit. And it's going to be difficult because he's earned himself a big payday. But the Browns get this version of Grant Delpit all year. It just adds another elite playmaker to this defense. We saw he had 3 interceptions last year. Didn't cause any turnovers today, but he was all over the football field, and very encouraging from the Browns. And you really hope that Grant Delpit can take this into Monday night against Pittsburgh, because one of the big things for Grant Delpit throughout his career, inconsistency. Great first game, build on that success for week 2.
I think a theme that we're going to find throughout this show is talking about a lot of really talented players on defense that we knew were talented, but we just really didn't see the unit itself or those types of performances that we thought they were capable of. And Grant was flying around. Maybe it's his usage. Maybe I'm really curious. I know this is just one game, but it's extremely promising. I know everybody was really high on Grant when he was drafted. They said he could have been a first-round draft pick. The talent's always been there, and I think we know the story about him, tearing his Achilles in year 1. I think it's awesome to see him playing at this level. And if there's one thing that I know, it's that if Grant does keep playing this way, Andrew Berry will find a way to pay him.
I mean, you'd be dumb not to.
Yeah.
But I think you touched on it, and I just wanted to say it felt like a lot of guys were enjoying this scheme they played in yesterday. I was listening to the OBR's post game stream last night on my way home, and they were just talking about the fire and the excitement that they were having fun. And it was just it was contagious. A million people have said it today on Twitter. But that moment that Miles sacked, and I know I'm jumping ahead, but he sacked Joe Burrow on that 4th down. Everybody says, I think that was the loudest the stadium has ever been. I thought I was going to pass out. I was like, this is insane. And for the record, I had actually gone into the concourse because it had been pouring rain and I didn't want to be in the rain anymore. And I still felt the stadium shake from the reaction to him going down. And it was just and there was a bunch of us watching on the TV in the concourse because we didn't want to be in the rain. And we were going nuts and hugging and jumping around. And it was just moments like that we've been waiting for. And this defense, Myles Garrett was pretending to be Kyrie Irving and dribbling the ball between his legs on the 6th snap from scrimmage. Not the 4th quarter when they were about to put it away. When they were just feeling themselves early on in the game, loving what they were doing, what Jim Schwartz had going on, and just balling. It was fun. It was exciting, and I'm ready for more. Tyler, what's your first guy?
So my first guy is great segue into my first player. It sounds like an obvious one, but the reason I'm going to go with Myles Garrett is we've talked about all offseason the amount of talent that Andrew Berry's added to this defensive line. You've added Zadarius Smith, you've added Dalvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, Ogbo Okoronkwo, who was absolutely fantastic that no one's talking about at all from yesterday's game.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett, you saw it yesterday. He is going to play everywhere. I mean, he's playing stand-up linebacker, inside linebacker, as Jim Schwartz had him playing there. And this is just a further indictment on Joe Woods, and I had to say that name because you had a talent like Myles Garrett, and you did not utilize him to his full strength. And now the scary thought for the rest of the NFL, Myles Garrett played 77% of the snaps yesterday. 77% of the snaps. He was fresh in the 4th quarter and made clutch play, seal the game for the Browns. The rest of the NFL should be shaking in their boots right now because Myles Garrett now is going to be playing in the 4th quarter, and he's going to be fresh. You have Zadarius Smith around him. You have all this talent. Myles Garrett is going to have one-on-one opportunities. And even when he's doubled, like we saw yesterday, it still just doesn't matter. Myles Garrett is going to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year as long as he is healthy this year. And he's going to continue to be a winner every single week. That doesn't mean we're going to pick him, but the reason he'll be a winner every week is he is surrounded by the most talent he's ever been surrounded with on that defensive line. And I'll say this, the unfortunate thing is it took the Browns this long into his career to actually surround him with this level of talent around him. And it should have been done a long time ago, but now that it is, you are going to see the best version of Myles Garrett in 2023.
A really interesting stat I heard today was that Myles Garrett played 4 or 5 snaps from the linebacker spot yesterday. And in his career, he's only played 21 snaps prior to, which is blows my mind, because it feels like, Tyler, to build off what you said, feels like it's taken this long for some defensive coordinator to decide, hey, we should probably move Myles Garrett around the defense and let him operate a little bit and use that talent and create advantages for himself. Because literally, I mean, he was juking. When he did that little dribble, he juked the guard. He feigned. I have not seen anything like that ever, honestly. And just a little tweet preview for tomorrow, but we're starting to see a little bit of a trend. I remember last year in the fourth quarter, Myles Garrett sacked Tom Brady, which got the ball back, which was like the crucial moment in that game that allowed the Browns to win. And then again, we have the most crucial moment in the game, and it ends with a Myles Garrett sack. All of a sudden, you're starting to see, people have questioned, oh, where's Myles Garrett in the fourth quarter? Where's Myles Garrett in these big games? And I think we all here would agree that Myles Garrett is the bottom-most person you would ever blame for any struggles that the Browns have had. But now you're starting to see it with him. It's undeniable what a difference maker Myles Garrett is. And so I'm happy for him. I love to see him shine like this. It's a beautiful thing.
I got no notes, guys. I do got $20 though that says he gets drug tested after yesterday. If anybody wants to take me on that.
$20 after they see this photo of him.
That's what I'm saying. Look at those pipes. Look at that.
There was an image, side note, there's an image of him like from this moment from behind, and you can see the veins popping out of his hamstrings through his football pants, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, you could say, don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. Yeah, I mean, I can't say anything else. You're right, Casey. You said it's like, hey, he's the best. He's the best player defensively on this team, and probably top 2 or 3 in the entire NFL. And he didn't have to do it all yesterday. I mean, he didn't. Don't get me wrong. He had 6 pressures and a sack. Like, he did a lot. He didn't have to. Ogbo Okoronkwo got a sack because of Myles Garrett.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he forced Joe Burrow to climb the pocket when it was chaos. And they pressured Joe Burrow. Had 33 dropbacks yesterday. They pressured him on 17 of those 33 dropbacks, which means he was under pressure more than he wasn't. And I would argue if they weren't throwing the ball like 1, 2, 3, 3-step drop, getting those quick outs out of his hands, there would have been more pressures. And I know the weather helped, but my God, that defensive line, good Lord.
If you haven't seen the Brian Baldinger breakdown of the pressures the Browns got on Joe Burrow, it gets to the point, and it's fun to see that pressure build up as the day goes on, because there's a screen pass that Joe Burrow throws and Baldinger highlights it, and he does not even step into or fully grip to throw a screen pass because he's had guys in his face all day. He's so uncomfortable. Even one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL has been shaken and rattled by the pressure that the Browns put on him all day. I can't talk about it enough. And so I think that perfectly segues into my first winner, who is Zadarius Smith, who did not have a stellar stat sheet on the day, but I don't think that tells the story of what he did for the Browns yesterday, because Zadarius got right into Joe's face on the first play of the game. He bats a ball. He makes his presence known. And I think, some people, when the Browns traded for Zadarius, tried to say, well, where did his production go for the second half of the year? And he's washed it. And just trying to nitpick the impact that Zadarius would have. And I think from the first snap, you saw that Zadarius is a pairing with Myles that is going to be fruitful. It's going to be fun. They're going to make quarterbacks. If you can make Joe Burrow uncomfortable, who has been one of the coolest performers despite getting sacked as much as anybody in the NFL, you can make any quarterback in the NFL uncomfortable. And I just love Zadarius's contributions to that. I love it. He just, every play you see, you go back, he's hustling, he's pressuring. He's a big part of those pressures you mentioned, Jacob. I'm so excited for what this defensive line is going to be, and Zadarius is probably my favorite addition to it.
Let's make this clear. Myles Garrett had 6 pressures. Zadarius Smith had 6 pressures
Let's
yesterday.
go.
And he only played 26 pass rushing snaps. They only played him 34 snaps. That's the talent on this defensive line. Zadarius Smith played 34 snaps. PFF gave him an 84.4 pass rush grade and a 90.5 overall. 6 pressures, a stop tackle in the run game. And he hit, like, it set the tone, man. He hit him on the first play. And I immediately looked at Andy, and I might have said this to you, Nick. I don't know if I said it, who I said it to. And I just said, well, that set the tone.
Yep.
This is exactly what I thought they were going to do. This is exactly what we thought they could be with this talent on that defensive line. And the first snap, Zadarius, like, they didn't have a chance against him. And I get it. He was a backside rusher, and they were trying to get the ball out incredibly quick, and they weren't blocking him. It's a common play, and he's that fast and that explosive that a common play that works all the time drawn up like that, it just didn't work. And he had 6 pressures, and he only had 26 pass rushing snaps.
Yeah, I mean, Zadarius Smith, having him alongside Myles Garrett is just not really fair to the rest of the NFL. I mean, the amount of talent that is just at the defensive end position. You have Ogbo Okoronkwo, you have Zadarius Smith, and you're able to just rotate these 3 guys. I mean, when Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith, neither one of them plays more than 45 snaps. It's absolutely just ridiculous. And you talk about, Nick, Zadarius Smith, like you said, in the stat sheet doesn't necessarily show up, at least sack-wise. Zadarius Smith made it to where Myles Garrett could end up getting a sack. And there's going to be games where Myles Garrett, as shocking as it sounds, might not get a sack, but he might be in the quarterback's face multiple times per game, and Zadarius Smith ends up with 2 sacks. That's just how this defense is going to be this year.
Well, you guys said it, man. He set the tone. And what he really did to Burrow is he sped up his processing. And when you look at Burrow's elite characteristics, he's calm and composed, but he's an elite processor, pre to post. You know what I mean? You can try to fool him all you want. He's calm enough, but that pressure sped everything up for him all day long, and he was never comfortable. And furthermore, I think like it's basically going to be like hot potato back there for quarterbacks. Like, I don't know who's going to take a 7-step drop against these guys. You're not going to. You know what I mean? And if you try, it's at your own peril. Yeah. It's going to be quick. Everything's going to be a quick game until they figure out some schematic things to slow these guys down. But you even see that with chip blocks don't work against Myles Garrett. You know, like, I don't know. The NFL is going to have to adjust because this is unfair having these 2 pass rushers on the same team.
I just love it because, like, I feel what you're saying. You're just like, that's just ridiculous. Like, what else do you want? Like, what are you supposed to do with this? And that, that leads me to my first winner. And I had another one, and I like JOK, but I'm going to talk about Jim Schwartz. I think Jim Schwartz was the biggest winner this week because boy howdy, he had these boys fired up and ready. Like, I didn't feel like Cincy made any adjustments on offense, but I felt like the looks that Jim Schwartz was giving them we talked about the Myles Garrett, dribbling and moving around and doing all this stuff. And like, they put Ronnie Hickman out there a lot. They didn't have their best free safety, guys. Juan Thornhill did not play this game. They put Ronnie Hickman back there. And I like Ronnie Hickman, but that's an undrafted free agent that played a lot of snaps back there. And he didn't play all that well, but he also, like, you don't remember Ronnie Hickman, so he wasn't a liability either. So, like, I'd point that out. But he has 3 really good corners, and they dominated these 3 really good wide receivers who talked nothing but shit leading up to this game. And how I was told it didn't matter what these corners were doing. Jim Schwartz could do whatever he wanted. It didn't matter what he did. They're going to get theirs. Are they? Are they going to get theirs? Or is Jim Schwartz going to get his? Because this man went out, and Brian Baldinger even made a post. You were talking about Baldy earlier, Nick, and I haven't seen his breakdowns of some of those pressures and stuff, so I'll have to check that out here when I get a chance after this. But he was like, Jim Schwartz was the best addition this offseason to a defense. It's something along those lines. He was pointing out that, like, Jim Schwartz just was in his bag. He went out there, and people pointed out that, like, the Browns, they pounced quickly on getting Jim Schwartz. They needed to do something at defensive coordinator. They understood that. They pounced quickly. They went out. They got their man. And Jim Schwartz said, hey, I got a bunch of talent. Watch this. And, like, to me, that's as simple as it was for the winners and losers. And, and there's some other guys I know we're going to talk about as we kind of bounce around. Delpit was one of my guys, and I'll get JOK here in a few minutes. But I just thought that Schwartz went out there, understood the assignment, and he accomplished it. And I mean, look at that picture. Look at that badass. Just look at him sitting there just like, you know what? I'm going to ruin the highest paid player in NFL history's day. That's what I'm going to do. Go out there and we'll take care of business. And I get it. The weather helped. The weather did help. It helped. It helped hinder the Browns offense. It helped hindered the Bengals offense and helped the Browns defense. But I tweeted during the thing, I said, this game's coming down to defense and special teams. And both Jim Schwartz and Bubba Ventrone had their units ready to play and at a high level. And thank you, Dustin Hopkins. I love you. And yeah, that's it, man. We can go to Casey. What's your next one?
Well, you might have taken him, man. That Hopkins.
Oh, yeah, go for it. Yeah, no, I love kicker talk. Go for it.
When we went to line up for that first 42-yarder, there's that anticipation at first, like, okay, it's terrible weather. What's this going to look like? Yeah. Right down the middle. It's like, oh, you can do that? So that's the move? Just make the makeable kicks? Like, all right, like, that game on. And in a game like that, man, that's enough to put you over the top. He was money all day. Go ahead.
Because to your point, you have any doubt about that third one? When he lined up to kick that third one, I was like, yeah, I can go to the bathroom.
Yeah, my heart didn't raise. Like before, man, I was nervous for extra points. You know what I mean? It was like, that's where we were at with York. And just to not have to worry about it, because we play in Cleveland. You're going to have those games. You're going to have terrible weather games where it's going to come down to a kick, period. I don't care how much talent you have. That's the league. You need a guy who can be competent. Now, we don't need him to kick 50-plus. With this defense, if it's going to be a 56-yarder, punt the damn thing and pin him in the 5. Mm-hmm. With this defense, that's the move. I mean, this is a team that can get a safety on any offense if you get him pinned down like that. So, yeah, man, Hopkins, the real D-Hop, showed up big. It was just, I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to worry like I was before, And I know Pittsburgh's a terrible place to kick as well, but I'm not going into it the way I've been feeling the last 2 years.
The part of the Dustin Hopkins trade that made no sense to me is people tried to poo-poo it because they said, well, if he was really that good, why did the Chargers cut him? And it's like, well, because Cameron Dicker's a decade younger than him and they're going for longevity. That just because Dustin Hopkins is going to get cut doesn't mean he's not a good kicker. He's the 20th most accurate kicker. And he only improved that by going 3 for 3. I think there was a play where I said to Jacob, I was like, I think they're going to go for it on this 4th down. And Jacob was like, no, they're just going to kick it. And I was like, well, I guess when you have a reliable kicker, that's just what you do. You get points.
Nick's like, wait, you can take the points? I forgot that was real.
I didn't. It was amazing to just see consistent kicking. The NFL is won and lost by such thin margins, and I think nobody knows that as well as we do. And you think about all the games we lost, in part because of kicking last year. Winning those games, getting those points, building that lead, because those 9 Dustin Hopkins points are a big part of what puts the Bengals in obvious passing situations when they get the ball. And that's what lets all these high-priced defensive linemen that you've added go to work and just pin their ears back and say, we're coming to get you because we know you're throwing the ball. Right? And it's like that situation has happened so rarely in the past because the offense just hasn't been that which like really puts up leads like that. And so all of a sudden, it's a multi-score game. The time's running out. Bengals have to score. And that's where you get some of those sacks. The Steelers have made a living. TJ Mott's made a living doing that. And I mean, I'm not going to fall for it, but it's nice to be able to do it as the Browns, right? I'm tired of watching other teams do it. It was great to watch that yesterday.
Tyler, you got some kicker love in there?
I don't have his picture, dude.
No. I just meant, were you going to give him some love?
Yeah. I mean, I'll admit I wasn't surprised to see what Dustin Hopkins did yesterday.
Okay.
I knew he was a good
and that's
kicker.
Good.
But the thing is, there's so many people that are just in shock, and I provided the guy's stats, and are we really that surprised? Like, listen, I get it. We haven't had a guy that can make consistent kicks, but at the same time, why are we acting like because we trade for Dustin Hopkins, the guy sucks? Like, I'm
Right.
listening to a radio show, and I'm not going to name what it is, but we're acting like because we couldn't get Nick Folk that Dustin Hopkins is like one of the worst kickers in the league. Like, what are we doing? Like, he deserves all the praise that he should be getting, but at the same time, like, why are we acting like this guy sucks?
Yep.
Like, we got this guy. Oh, he lost to Cameron Dicker. He lost that kicking competition. The Browns are getting a scrub. No. There's a reason why he's one of the most accurate kickers in NFL history. If he can make a 50-yarder from time to time, great. I could give a duck fart if he ever makes a 50-yarder. Just make everything from inside 50 yards, and we're gold the whole season.
Yeah.
And, you finally have trust in a kicker, and I want to see people just calm down. If he misses a kick, that doesn't mean we're going to go out and cut him because that's stupid. He's going to miss from time to time. He's not invincible. The sliders aren't all the way up on Madden. It's going to be all right. We got ourselves a kicker. But again, for me, I wasn't surprised. I knew how good he was. It's unfortunate that so many people are just in utter shock that this guy's good. It really is.
84.8 career percentage. It's like, 84.8. Like, that's what I'm with you, man. Like, I was doing the same stuff, and I remember you being very upset about the radio show that you did not mention. You were like, what are we doing? And I was like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Like, we're just out there pooping on people. But we'll move to the next one. What you got next, Tyler?
Oh, one of my favorites. Elijah Moore, this is why he's a winner, and it's not necessarily because of what stood out in the stat sheet, because when you look at the stats, I mean, nothing spectacular stands out at you. This man has been freed from the clutches of New York, from Zach Wilson's just terrorism of his career, and he is now in a place where he can succeed and do very well. Elijah Moore led the Browns in receiving yesterday. Now, again, I'm not going to read too much into that. It's one game. Same amount of targets as Amari Cooper, more receiving yards. Elijah Moore also had 2 carries for 19 yards. He is going to be a weapon. He's going to be used everywhere on this offense. I've tried to tell people for a while that, he was never used right in New York. Some people are like, your expectations are way too high for him. They're not. There's a reason why Elijah Moore was so highly sought after coming into the NFL draft a couple of years ago. And the Browns have a weapon on their hands, Kevin Stefanski, who does not, by the way, get enough credit for yesterday's win at all. It's amazing. Kevin Stefanski gets completely crushed on social media when he makes a bad decision. But when he does something good, no one says a word. But anyway, for him to use Elijah Moore the way he is, for him to get Nick Chubb involved in the passing game the way he is, now you have guys that you can move all around your offense, and that's what Elijah Moore brings to you. Again, the stats don't show like fantastic, but what you have and what you saw yesterday is just glimpses of another weapon in this Browns offense. And Elijah Moore, he's only going to get better. He's only going to get more touches, and he should have even had more yards in this game. I mean, Watson did miss him a couple times, but you know what? I'm excited for Elijah Moore's future here, and I know I seem like some bit of a homer because I've been on the Elijah Moore train for a while. But you have to just look at what the guy can bring to the offense. He now brings – we didn't even see Nick Chubb and Elijah Moore in the backfield very much together yesterday, if at all. When that starts happening, defenses are going to really have a tough decision to make with Watson, Moore, and Chubb in the same backfield. So Elijah Moore is an easier winner for me. And, again, doesn't stand out in the stat sheet or on PFF. It's just what he brings to the offense, and you're going to start to slowly see – what a weapon he will be for this team.
I think you look at the one run, if you really want to look at, like, in this game, the impact that he can have on a team. You look at his run where he literally changed his mind and ran across to the other side of the field because and kudos to Deshaun Watson for the heads up, and he threw a nice block on that play as well. But, like, he literally – that's some Ted Ginn circa Ohio State stuff. Like, that's what Ted Ginn did at Ohio State when he was the superior athlete to everybody else on the field. Ted Ginn would be like, no, never mind, I'm going over here. And that's what Elijah Moore did, and it worked. Mm-hmm. Like, he had the whole defense over there, and he had just ran across the field. He's like, I'm going to run 55 yards across the other side of the field, and I'm going to get, I don't know what it was, like 18, because he got most of those yards on that because he had one other carry that didn't really give him anything. So, but you're looking at an explosive play, a double-digit play, a first down, and a play that looked like he was getting 2 yards. And then it's like 15 yards, 16 yards, and he almost broke another tackle and kept going. It was just like, that's it, man. That's the elusive athlete we've been talking about. That's the elusive playmaker who makes guys miss in space and creates something out of nothing. And yeah, man, I'm with you. I'm all aboard on this train. I couldn't find his jersey yesterday because I was really grumpy and wet. So like, I'll just toot and we'll just keep on going that way.
You know what? I think one of the biggest wins in all of this is that Elijah Moore has, like, when Anthony Schwartz was a Brown, they were trying to use him in some gadget ways to get him the ball, to get him in space, to allow him to contribute. And now they're using Elijah Moore in that role. And no, he's not as fast as Anthony Schwartz, but I think you saw he has more than enough speed as he turned that around. And I mean, Tyler, you said it, but there were some other times he was open that he and Deshaun just didn't connect. The ball ended up at his feet. So I'm looking as we go forward for Deshaun to be better and for Elijah Moore to rise up along with that. I just think you see everything that you want to out of a receiver that you moved 32 spots down to get. I think that's still an amazing trade from Andrew Berry, and I think it'll only be more obvious as we move forward.
The level of athlete that he is what sticks out for me. You don't make that decision to cut back unless you have supreme confidence in your athleticism that you can turn that corner.
Yeah.
Yep.
And keep in mind, when he did turn the corner, he wasn't looking to run out of bounds.
Nope.
He was looking to cut it back in. He's trying to break big ones. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's not timid. I do think that yesterday, just because of the weather, we didn't see a fraction of what this offense can be. You know what I mean? Like we saw a bogged down version of it, and he still played his role. I think it starts as early as Monday night, though. I think you're going to see a lot more wrinkles, and he's going to have a heavy involvement. Just being that move piece, being that one chess piece that you have to account for. You're going to see him everywhere. I mean, and you saw it yesterday to a small degree, but when they really get it cooking, he's going to be the driving force in the passing game. He's going to be what opens everything up for everybody else. Those cheap, easy yards that we couldn't get before, he's going to be able to get that, man. You can hit him with a little 5-yard out. He can turn it to 17, 20 yards in a heartbeat because if you get him in a phone booth, him and a DB, I like Moore's chances every time.
All right, Nick, we're back to you as we get close to the end of the winners, and then we're going to talk about some people that suck.
So the controversial winner that I think is worth discussing for me is Deshaun Watson, and I'll tell you why, because I know that's maybe not something everyone agrees with. Now, Deshaun did not have his best passing day. That much is obvious. We saw a bunch of balls that ended up at guys' feet. We need that to improve. I'll be the first one to say that. But you saw that even when Deshaun's arm, even when his passing wasn't where it needed to be, he still was able to contribute to the offense. Still was able. He called that audible that right before the first half. That was the where he just took the ball and ran it in the end zone. That was his choice, which I thought was a great piece of information because I thought it was gutsy and it worked. I think you saw the type of athlete he is. I think he averaged 9 yards a carry at 45 yards rushing. So that's something we haven't seen here in Cleveland. A guy a quarterback that can really contribute on the ground. And you know what? We know the weather is going to be bad sometimes. We know passing is going to be an issue sometimes. So can you create despite that? Can you move the team down the field despite that? Are you going to win despite that? And what I saw from Deshaun yesterday, he did. And so I'm looking for the passing to improve. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But if you can still move the offense, if you can still contribute, if you can bounce back from, the Boo Birds were out when he had that tip ball and it got picked off very briefly, but the Boo Birds were out and he bounced back from that. I like to see that. I think that he has been and keep in mind, right? He plays in the 6-game sample of an offense that wasn't his. This is his first game of his new offense. You're not going to have every kink worked out, and I get that. I think as he gets more comfortable, and I think you saw him start to get more comfortable, there were a couple of throws. I think the long one was to Elijah Moore. I thought he did throw a catchable ball to Marquise Goodwin. They didn't connect there. He definitely could have had him easily if he had thrown a better ball, but it still was catchable. The point is, you're seeing little flashes of the passing. You're also seeing a guy that contributes with his feet, that is mentally is where he needs to be, looks better. I'm excited about him. And I think that this was an encouraging performance because you lost the turnover margin by 2. Your quarterback did not have a good throwing day, and you won by 3 touchdowns. I'm a happy camper.
Yeah. Deshaun Watson's on the loser list for me.
Same.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is for me is the things that the weather didn't affect. Don't get me wrong, the weather affected a lot, especially that first half. I felt like it stopped raining a little bit in the second half, and it wasn't raining as hard for a good portion of that second half. And our good friend Jack pointed that out as well. Over on the Faithful Dogs podcast, he pointed it out in our group chat, like, the rain's not quite as bad now in the second half. But there was a lot of that, but there was also a lot of balls at the feet. That was things I saw him do in Houston last year. That was situations where I don't know if he's too amped up. I don't know. But here's the thing. That looked like last year's Watson, not the Watson I watched in training camp. I mean, it did not match up what I had seen in training camp and a few of drives in the preseason. It's concerning. It's not panic. It's one of those things where I'm like, listen, he got hit hard and he seemed to play better after that. I don't know if he just needed his bell rung once to kind of get going. He made some nice throws, some big throws. He ran, he had that great can call to run it in there on that 15 yards. So he played well. I understand people wanting to say that he did play well enough to win, because he did. And he wasn't a liability. You're right. But there were some missed opportunities. He missed 2 touchdowns to Marquise Goodwin.
I agree.
He missed 2 touchdowns. That second one, because I've just finished rewatching it. That second one, Goodwin had Cam Taylor-Britt burned bad. And he had to slow down and come back, and they both met at the football, and it went down. Of course, Cam Taylor-Britt was like, "Hey, yeah, look at me in coverage." I was like, "Sit your ass down, bitch." and so I was very aggressive. But you miss some things, and I think the weather had something to do with some of the deep ball stuff. So I can live with it. I'm not going to panic, but I do need to see a lot more on Monday night, or else I'm going to start wondering.
Sure, I get that.
Where we're going to go.
You have to be a better passer than he was yesterday. You have to. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I just think it's nice that he was still able to find different ways when that wasn't working. But this is with the caveat: we can't be throwing balls at wide open receivers' feet. Can't do it.
Yeah.
It just can't.
I think it's important to note with that when he talked about when he was talking with Quincy Avery, he did have to get an IV at halftime.
That's crazy.
And it affected, and he said, because he was actually asked about that, and he said it affected the way he threw because his body was tight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when he tried to throw, he couldn't get enough under the ball. Now, again, we'll see in Pittsburgh whether or not that really was the reason. I do think, and Kevin Stefanski actually confirmed that was the case, but we'll get a better idea in Pittsburgh. The only reason, real quick, to hit on why he's a loser for me, it's not even necessarily the performance. It's the fact that losing your right tackle in game one for a rookie, no, this is not a knock on DeJuan Jones. That's not a good thing. And then when your left tackle plays worse than the rookie who came in at the right side, you have very shaky tackles. And if anybody on the interior goes down, then we really have a problem. That's what worries me more than anything else is now the offensive line. And so for me, Watson is a loser because of that offensive line moving forward. But that's just brief.
Yeah. That's fair.
I will give him props. Like Nick said, he did pivot because there was a definite difference after he came out the second half. The first half, he was trying to muscle everything, and if his body was tight, that makes sense why everything was dying at the feet of receivers. But you could see he definitely took a different approach in the second half. And you have to be able to pivot. You have to have a plan B, and that weather forced the plan B. And there's a difference between the two quarterbacks. Burrow's a good athlete. He wasn't about to run yesterday. There was zero chance he was going to take off on you. Watson used his legs, kept plays going, and he was leading. Period. He was leading the guys. You know what I mean? And that's at base level. That's what you need your quarterback to be. He has to be a leader of men. Mm-hmm. And when everything else was failing, he was doing that. And that's the reason you have this elevated roster, because he's not going to have to do all the heavy lifting. Yesterday, luckily, they all stepped up. You know, you got a Nick Chubb. I will give DeJuan Jones a shout out because I have rewatched the game. That is a tough spot to come in, man. Mm-hmm. That is a tough spot. And what he needs work in his run game, man. He needs definite work in the run game. But his mitts, if he gets on you, like he can force guys on the arc. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't go through him.
No. He's, like I said, he's the human detour, man. You can only go around. But they do play a guy next week who will be glad to do that quickly. And Watson has to be cognizant of this. Mm-hmm. Like TJ said, man, you got all kinds of problems with the offensive line. You need to have they need to have a game plan for this, because Jedrick Wills, I don't see it turning around. You have a rookie at right tackle. Tyler said it. If a guard goes down, man, they're in trouble. And Watson has to be the focal point of this. It's getting the ball out. He holds the ball a lot. And that could lead to a bad thing when your offensive line has been as shaky as it has been. So I don't think he had a good game by any stretch, but he did enough, man. And we've seen so many times the quarterbacks in the Browns past, that just wouldn't have happened.
How many games have you seen exactly like this, but on the other side, where the Browns like I've seen Big Ben with one leg beat the Browns because it was just like, you know, I watched the Browns knock Landry Jones out of a game and Big Ben come into the game and dominate him, and he had like a bum knee or something. You know what I mean? Because he was like, they're like, well, he's good enough to play, but we're going to start Landry Jones. For one, it was the Browns. And for two, it was like, you know, let's get Big Ben healthy. And like they knocked Landry Jones out on like the second play. And I knew the second Big Ben walked onto the field how that game was going to go. And it's like, how many times have you seen a gutsy win on the other side? So finding a way to just grind it out and win these games, man, like they needed this really bad.
Yes.
And they went out and showed they could. I don't care. I get it. Burrow misses all that time. He's not 100%. I don't care about any of that. You went out and you got it. And you got it by 3 touchdowns. And the weather, this, weather, that. Well, they both played in the same weather. So, like, we went out there. We took care of business. So I give you credit. I will comment on Jedrick Wills because he's one of my losers real quick as we're kind of – I know we're almost out of time here, so I'll try to not blab too much. Wills was more down than up. I thought he was okay at times yesterday. I get it. It's Trey Hendrickson. So, like, I guess to an extent I can see, because I think Hendrickson's underrated. But, like, you can't do some of the things you were doing and expect for a different result. I'm pulling up the numbers right now just because I can't remember exactly where he ended up finding himself. So, a 36 run blocking grade, a 58 in pass blocking, which is just let me see if I can find his
awful.
Yeah, that's the word.
Something.
4 pressures, 2 hurries, a sack, and a hit. I was looking for those pressure numbers.
That is
I was trying to find
bad list.
And he ended Jack Conklin's season. Let's put that out there. That happened.
Oh, that was kind of a freak, though. Like, that was a freak play, but
he's getting beat once again, though. Just
and then he kind of like inadvertently throws Hendrickson into his knees, and it's just like, which is just gut wrenching.
Sucks
for Jack, but it's just like,
go look at the free agent market, dude. You're gonna need to bring in a tackle anyway.
I feel like they're going to. Yeah, I feel like you absolutely have to. I think it's going to be intriguing to see between Hudson and DeJuan who actually plays right tackle, because I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, I think it should be DeJuan Jones, not James Hudson. I will say that right now, but I could see a scenario where they're like, we're going to put James Hudson over there just solely because Somebody posted this on Twitter. It was like they went into this week with Hudson at left and Jones at right. And to me, I think I still leave him. I think I still leave DeJuan Jones out there. There's a few names that are out there on the list. But real quick, before I go a little bit further, I just wanted to say something real quick that Jimmy Donovan is stepping away to fight leukemia again. He does not know when he will return to the Browns radio booth. And it got me all emotional listening to him sign off yesterday. And I just wanted to say, I just hope they I know I said it again. I wasn't supposed to. I just hope they go out there and they just give him everything. And they give him they give a season for Jimmy to be proud of. I know he's going to beat cancer. He's done it before, but it's just, I wanted to put that out there that just prayers up for Jimmy and we know he'll go out there, but
win for Jim,
win for Jim, baby.
For both Jims.
Yeah.
Jim Brown and Jim Donovan.
Yep,
absolutely. No, really well said, Jacob. As someone who recently lost a family member to cancer, Jim's going to beat this. He's already done it once. There's no reason why he can't do it again. So definitely hoping best for him and his family. But you mentioned James Hudson. Kevin Stefanski pretty much kind of confirmed that DeJuan was going to be the starter. It seemed like, at least in the press conference today, unless they changed their mind. A couple names that stand out: Dennis Kelly, who played with the Eagles, is available. Taylor Lewan, again, I know he's been injured a lot, but Taylor Lewan still available. You can probably get him on a cheap incentive contract. Jason Peters, very old, but still graded out pretty decently last year. There are guys that are available if you are worried about the state of James Hudson or Jed Wills. And the thing with Jed Wills is I feel like we're waiting for this guy to get it. And I'm starting to wonder if it's ever – listen, you said Trey Hendrickson is underrated. He's good. You know what, man? There are a lot of really good defensive ends in the NFL, and you don't have to be Superman. You don't have to be Joe Thomas at left tackle. You just have to be average. And we're not – the problem is now we're not getting that. And then this is not a knock at DeJuan Jones. He's a rookie playing in the NFL. There's no doubt in my mind he can pass block. Run blocking is he's not great at it. I'll just say it that way. No. He's got a ways to go. You got TJ Watt Monday night. You're probably going to need to give DeJuan Jones some help. That's going to leave Jed Wills one-on-one. Are you guys comfortable with Jed Wills one-on-one? Because right now I'm not. And part of me wants them to go out and sign a guy like Taylor Lewan or Jason Peters. I know it's not ideal. I know a lot of fans might question that, especially Jason Peters, considering I think the dude's over 40. But I think right now that gives me more confidence than what I have at left tackle. And to go back on James Hudson, I haven't seen anything enough either to where I'm confident there. Go get a veteran, and you know what? He might not be great, but I just need average. That's it.
You know what? It reminds me of the conversations when we were trying to go get a kicker. Just get him average, man. Just get him to do the plays that an average player can make, and we'll be okay. Dude, listen, Jason Peters said he's looking for the right situation, and I know he's over 40, but that dude just keeps playing, and I'm fine with Jason Peters. Any thoughts, Casey, on Wills in the offensive tackle situation?
No, Wills is average, but he's inconsistent. He's average 80% of the time and god awful the other 20. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the best case scenario is you get 80% average play and then 20% where he just takes a vacation, man. That dude's out to lunch. He's going to get someone hurt. And I hate saying it because I'm not trying to put the evil on him, but I feel the same way we felt about Anthony Schwartz. We're just waiting on what? He was a top 10 pick, man. Yep. What are we waiting on? He's not the guy. And to keep him, you have to pay him. They've already got him under contract for next year. They have to go get a veteran. They had to get a tackle anyway. Just go get a veteran. Go get a veteran, and because we're waiting on the inevitable, in my opinion. He's a liability out there. Next week is going to be on the national stage against Alex Highsmith. Now, not everybody knows who Alex Highsmith is. That dude is a phenomenal pass rusher.
He's really
He's going to
good.
make Jed Wills look stupid.
He's completely underrated.
Yes.
Completely underrated.
He's got a better skill set than Hendrickson. Just has a motor.
Yeah.
You know what?
Highsmith has some skill. The noise is going to get way louder after next Monday.
I'm starting the Jason Peters train.
I'll tell you what. We've talked all about all this cap space the Browns have, and obviously, ideally, you want to roll it over for next year. But this is part of the reason why you've created that cap space, because if you have flexibility, and so if that is what you need to do, if you need to go add one of these guys to stabilize your line, so be it. And I just, on a really high note, I think it would be a travesty if we did not mention the fact that when the Browns needed it most, when they needed the offense to move, they went to all reliable Mr. Nick Chubb, 5.9 yards a carry, 18 carries, 109 yards, carried the offense yesterday. Just anytime you need to move the ball, anytime you need some sort of momentum, stability, Nick Chubb is there. It doesn't matter how many people you put in the box, although I think he's faced a less stacked box than he typically does, which is nice to see. But regardless, Chubb was great again yesterday. He's just always great. He's like the most reliable source of offense I've ever seen. He just makes guys miss. There were so many great plays where he could have easily been dead in the backfield, and he just creates. He just creates and creates. And I love Nick Chubb. I was wearing a Chubb jersey yesterday. It's just I appreciate every game we see of him in a Cleveland Browns uniform.
And I'll just say it was just a normal game for him. Like, that was the best part. You were just like, yeah, all right.
Yeah,
like that's cool.
Scary. Whatever.
I expected this.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I was just like, yeah, that's Nick Chubb. Like that is how good he is. You're just like, yeah, okay. Oh,
Sure.
they knew they were going to run the ball. They were having trouble throwing the ball.
It's like,
Exactly.
We're having trouble throwing the ball. Well, that's kind of been my NFL career, so I'm just going to go get my 5.9 yards a carry and business as usual.
Guys, I think this is a great Victory Monday pod. Do you think this is a great Victory Monday? I think it's a great Go get your Victory Monday pod shirts from Homage in the description down below. Nick and I will be live. The R Dogs will be live tomorrow at 7. They'll have their thoughts. Nick and I will be live at 8 tomorrow. I'm doing a deep dive on what Jim Schwartz showed us today and how his scheme is different and the things that he used to confuse one of the best offenses in football and one of the greatest quarterbacks in football, in my opinion, in Joe Burrow. That episode is Jim Schwartz. I don't know what I called it. I forgot. I had a nice name for it, but it is what it is.
Don't forget, we are doing a jersey giveaway at 2,000 subscribers. We're just about there. So if you're new here, these videos typically have done really well. So thank you to everybody who's been here on our journey of growing. We want to give back to you. Click that subscribe button. It's free. You'll be entered. All subscribers are able to win we'll figure out what jersey it is. But it's a Browns jersey when we hit 2,000 subscribers.
It's a jersey.
That's
what it is.
Real quick, just to add on to that, Nick, thank you to everyone that watched Week 1 pregame show yesterday. We had 300 people with us live, and then we eclipsed 2,000 views. So first off, thank you guys. Like I said yesterday a couple times, not going to be the last one. We're going to be doing pregame shows all throughout the season. The next one is going to be next Monday night at 7 o'clock. We're going to be previewing the Browns and Steelers on Monday Night Football. Going to want to make sure you tune in for that one. So, again, thank you guys all for tuning into the pregame shows. It's a lot of fun, and we appreciate all the support you guys give us with that.
And with that,
this has been a review of the Browns game.
Browns film room.
Yeah, Browns film room.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, go Browns. Nick, Tyler, Jacob, Casey, go Browns.
Go Browns.
Go Browns, baby.
Build a dome.
Yeah.